Well, we're here with a very special guest today, Mr. Fred Stokes, just an outstanding individual whom I have come in contact with through David Rocker, a previous member of our podcast show. And so, Fred, I wanted to take the time to introduce you, man, and then we're going to get to talking because you got so much in you, man, that we could probably talk about another 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours and never even scratch the surface of all that you've been involved in. But I just want to say it's a great honor to have you on the show. And I want to say this: you're a Super Bowl champion, internationally renowned speaker, CEO of company, author, born in Valdosta, Georgia. I'm sorry, Vidalia, Georgia, and played for the Rams, Washington, St. Louis, also New Orleans, and 131 games. 131 games, had 38 sacks, and finished in 1996. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now you're founder and CEO of LINT Brothers, also Fred Stokes Foods and Fred Stokes Radio Show. Welcome to the shoulder pad, brother.
Byron, it's a pleasure to be here, brother. Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to say a little bit about our conversations that we've had before now. When we talked on the phone, Fred, I felt like, man, I'd known you all my life. I think the connection that we've had based on our experiences and our past experience and being in the league and playing ball and just making it through that process and being on the other side of it, man, I think that just lends itself to us being able to connect. But I just sensed even a deeper connection with you, man. And I talked to David Rocker about you, and David was telling me all about you and Lint Brothers, and I said, man, I need some sessions, man. I said, what I did was when I talked to you on the phone, I said, well, I can't break it out on him now. I got to at least build a relationship before I throw all my stuff out on him. So man, I just appreciated the opportunity, man, to connect with you. And I don't even know really where to get started other than to let you just talk a little bit because my I'll give you the background of the shoulder pad. Several years ago, I went up to Buffalo. I played with the Bills and I played with Seattle, and I went up to Buffalo, man, and being a pastor, being in ministry, my spiritual eyes are always open. And I noticed something about our connecting with those guys when we got together. Of course, it always started out with us hyped up and talking about the old times and telling stories about what happened and who did what and how things happened and the funny stuff and all of the replays, if you will, of our experiences. And then after about 2 hours or 3 hours, man, everything kind of calms down and settles in. And you start seeing the faces of those guys and you start seeing them for real. And it's beyond just the hype of being in that place and being around guys and being in the same setting again. From a ministry perspective, I started seeing them for where I felt like they really were. And it was really hurtful for me because I knew that they were going through things. They wasn't saying anything about it. And that's a whole nother story that started out with something else. But I came away from it thinking, man, I really wish there was some way I could get to these guys and just kind of help them because I know what the challenge has been to make that transition out of sports and out of football. Because I consider us lifers. We played the game from the time we were small all the way up until we retired, and very few people have the opportunity to do that. But I came away thinking, man, I wish that I could create or do something that would help some of the guys who obviously are caught in the loop and can't get out of it,
Mhm.
to try to find a way to just kind of be of assistance to help them do that. And so the shoulder pad came about from a group of guys from Buffalo that I connect with on a regular basis. and we just get together and talk, just talk. And it's almost the same thing as the reunion. You just get together and tell stories and stay connected, but it's really almost the same thing. And so I kind of got an aha moment. I could do a Zoom and just do interviews with guys who have been in it, who have had a chance to transition through it, and talk about and get out and move to the next level, but still talk about the challenges that they had. Because a lot of us, I think, feel like we're the only ones that's going through what we're going through and don't realize that we all go through it and that we're still making adjustments and making challenge and dealing with the challenges of having to had that experience and all of the emotional ups and downs that go along with it. So the shoulder pad was born. And so this is the platform that I'm using. And so my desire when I have an opportunity to speak with someone like you, my desire is to really hear some of the challenges. And I feel like in that, others that are listening and that are keeping up with the podcast can gain something from it and really in their own lives realize, what, man, if he went through that and was able to transition through this part and that part, hey, man, I think I can do it. And so
Hmm.
that's the premise behind the shoulder pad. And my tagline is everything is football and it's always game time. So I always like to apply football to everything that we're doing. So Fred Stokes, tell us about your early life, man. Tell us about your pre-NFL life.
Well, first of all, Byron, thank you for having me on the show. And just as I listened to you and the culmination and the origin of how the shoulder pad started is um is indicative of the way life is in general,
Yeah.
right? When it comes to men,
Yeah.
because we hide.
Wow.
And as you were talking about going back and interacting with some of your former teammates and some guys maybe you may have even played against, that because I've been there, um, uh, you're in that environment and it's like you've been um, um, put back in time. You go
Yeah.
back in time, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, man, we in the locker room again, man. It's
Yeah.
those same old, Joe is the same old laughy dude. Bob's still cutting up. Bill done gained some weight. He don't look like a running back. He look like an offensive lineman
That's
now, and
right.
so you
That's
laughing
right.
about those things. And so with all of that said, when the smoke clears and everything, the excitement settles and you kind of dig in, there are guys that are walking around, and I've been there, and you're looking at guys and saying, I wish I had somebody I could tell the truth to,
Woo.
right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's like riding in the back of a car and you've been
Yeah.
kidnapped and taken hostage, and you want to just write on the window when you're at the
Help.
traffic light going,
Help.
help me,
Yes.
help
Yes.
me.
Sir. Yes.
And you can't,
Mm.
but you're hoping that somebody can read through the maze of emotions and facial expressions
Man.
and maybe even say, hey man, how are you really doing?
Man.
And then if we by ourselves to the side, you may say something generic or real surfacey kind of, yeah, bro, I'm doing good, man. But bro, just trying to hang in there.
That's it.
Just trying to hang in there.
That's it.
Okay. Hang in there from what?
Yeah.
So just listening to you and being a part of being on your show with the shoulder pad, um, it's me having gone through those things. And yes, and just to kind of digress a little bit and jump back on track here, I'm married to Regina, my wife. We've been married for 35 years.
Wow. Awesome.
Matter of fact, I met her after some resistance. Another lady was trying to introduce us for about a year.
Wow.
I was dating someone else and all that good stuff. But
Yeah.
in 1987, NFL went on strike. I was
Yeah.
playing in LA with the
Yeah.
Rams.
Yeah.
I went back to Georgia to kind of wait out the strike. And unbeknown to me, Regina was there teaching school.
Yeah.
And because the lady was so persistent, she stayed on me about meeting this girl. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me just meet this crazy girl, get it off to check the box. Because I've got a girlfriend anyway. So,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to. And also, too, it was recently after I really opened the door of my heart to Christ
Yeah.
and just got my life centered and
Wow.
all that nonsense I was dealing with, which would
Gotcha.
take a whole nother show to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, but I just wanted to meet her and kind of check the box. And,
Yeah.
that was 37 years ago. We've
Yeah.
been married for 35 years.
She
And
checked
we
the
got
boxes.
three kids.
Yeah.
We got three boys, Lance, Landon, and Luke. Lance is 32. He's
Wow.
married with our oldest grandchild, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Landon is 30. He's married with two kids. And then Luke is 28. So they're 32, 30, and
Wow.
28. And Luke is
Wow.
not married.
Yeah.
All of them are doing well
Yeah.
at this point in time.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just blessed.
And you got
Can't complain.
grandkids.
Yes, I got three
Wow.
grandkids.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just glad to be here, man, and appreciate you for having me.
Yeah. Well, I want you to give me some insight as to and like you said, we could go on for a long time because I have heard some of your story, but I want you to give me some insight as to, and I ask this question all the time. What was the moment that you realized you were done NFL wise? What was the moment that you realized it was over?
Well, man, it was sudden. It
Yeah.
was yeah, because here's the thing.
Mm.
I obviously played through pain and all those things,
Yeah.
and you're a gladiator, and it's a mindset. You go through a period of time when you just
Yeah.
have to put that helmet on,
Yeah.
put those quote unquote shoulder pads on,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you just make it happen. It was actually during the off season of my 10th year in the first year of a 3-year deal with the Saints.
Yeah.
I signed a 3-year deal, and when I signed that deal with the Saints, which would have taken me to 12 years, as I'm signing the contract, I'm saying, yeah, I'll play these 3 years out. It'll get me 12 years in, and then I'll
Yeah.
evaluate or reevaluate,
Yeah.
my situation and
Yeah.
financially and physically
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
That was my plan.
Yeah.
But as being a pastor yourself, many are the plans of a man's heart, but God's purpose will prevail.
Amen.
And so during the off season of my first year, um, actually, let me back up a little bit. That when I signed the contract, I hurt my knee or injured my knee some kind of freakish way. It was just kind of funky,
Yeah.
and it was cartilage. So when I went to training camp that year, the first year, I
Yeah.
was on crutches.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
I've been playing for 9 years. This is my 10th year. I had nothing to prove.
Yeah.
So I got through training camp, and the first game we were playing Chicago Bears. I
Yeah.
was ready. I
Yeah.
started. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
About midway through the season, I hurt my other knee and I had surgery. Now I've had 2 knee surgeries in 1 year.
Wow.
And within a few weeks, man, they placed me on injured reserve.
Yep.
I didn't play the rest of the season, but that was no big deal. That didn't
Yeah.
that didn't determine it. But during the off season, I just truly, Byron, I just felt like I truly heard the voice of God say to me, it's time.
Yeah.
It's almost like sitting down at a dinner table and you're eating, and no matter how good the food is, there comes a time when you go, I'm done.
Yeah.
You go, yeah, but we got cake and ice cream.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. It's your favorite ice cream. It's your favorite cake.
Yeah.
I'm full.
Yeah.
And that's basically the spiritual part of, I just knew. I was with one of my buddies and I was like, man, I'm done. I'm a horse guy. I'm a boots and jeans guy. We had been riding horses that day. And,
Yeah.
and when I said I was done, he was thinking I was talking about the horses. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, dude, I'm done with football. And he
Wow.
couldn't believe it because
Yeah.
it just came out the blue.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lead up to it, thinking about contemplating retirement. It was just that day,
Bang.
I'm done. And it was truly done. I called my agent
Wow.
and I retired and left some money on the table. And in those 2 years, man, I moved back, built a house in Georgia, almost 100 acres of land on some family property that I grew up on. We raised horses, homeschooled our kids, and we stayed there for the next 10 years.
Man, let me tell you what, brother. It don't go like that for everybody. No, no, no. Listen, you are you are
I
the
know, I know,
you are
I
the
know.
1%, brother. It's the other 99, they give a
Yeah,
penny to. And
yeah.
I played with this guy in Seattle. His name was Charlie Young. He was a tight end, and he actually played on that USC team that had Sam Bam Cunningham and a bunch of those guys that came to Alabama and beat the University of Alabama before the schools were integrated, and they really kind of pushed the integration into the SEC because of what Sam Cunningham and Charlie Young and those guys. But when I got to Seattle, he was probably in his 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th year as a tight
Hmm.
end. And he came to all of us as a team and he said, guys, this has been great. I love all you guys. It's time for me to step down. It's time for me to go. And everybody all just was just kind of in awe because we'd never seen anybody do that. We've always seen people just disappear, just like one day their lock is full, the next day it's empty, and nobody
Yeah,
ever says
yeah,
anything. They just gone, man. It's like the
yeah,
Grim Reaper came and got them. So
yeah,
so for you, brother, I'm gonna tell you, man.
yeah.
That's different. So the same kind of transition that I've talked about in some other cases probably don't fully apply to you, but I still believe you had some transitional challenges to go through from the mindset of now I'm not playing football. What do I do next? Did you kind of have things already set up for yourself?
I did. I didn't know what I was going to do
Yeah.
after retirement. But like I said, when I signed that contract, I was, as a matter of fact, we were contemplating renting or buying a house in New Orleans,
That's right.
because it was my 10th year, and my
Yeah.
house. I knew I was gonna live in Georgia. I
Yeah.
knew that. I knew I wanted a bunch of land
Yeah.
because I love
Love
horses and I
horses. Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
shoot, I started to put my boots on for this podcast. You know what I'm
Wow. Hey, was Frank Warren uh at New Orleans when you were there? Big
Yes, I played against him. I think he was. I think he was.
Big Frank. Big
Yeah,
Frank was my
yeah, yeah,
roommate in college.
yeah,
Six
yeah.
six six
And
Frank.
so, but the thing about it is, I knew a few variables. I didn't
Yeah.
know the whole detail.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew I wanted some land. I was going
Yeah.
to raise some horses and
Yeah.
probably get me some cattle.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a
You're a
cowboy at
farm. You're a farm
heart.
guy. You're a farm
Oh
guy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And more so the not necessarily doing all the crops and planting,
Yeah.
but just being in the country, more
Yeah.
country boy than
Yeah.
and maybe and we have some, like a small farm or something, but
Yeah. Yeah.
more horses, cows,
Yeah.
goats and stuff,
I
that
get
kind
it.
of stuff. But
I get it.
but to your point, Byron, we're all the same,
Yeah.
right? Transition is transition,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it, and if your life is locked into what you do and you can't separate what you
You are.
do from who you are,
Woo.
and then when that separation and that divide happens, you're trying to hold on to get back to here
Yeah. You trying to
because
figure out.
this is
Yeah.
who I am.
Yeah.
And no matter whether you get hurt or traded or something
Or
happened,
step
there's
out.
still a
Yeah.
separation.
Yeah.
This part of me in my life, whether I worked for IBM or, well, IBM is not, but
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
big corporation,
Yeah.
and I had a CEO or I worked there as a mailroom guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not doing that after 60 years or 40
That's right.
years.
That's right.
There's still the older guys. The old dude who got up every morning at 5 o'clock, got a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
went down and cranked up that old tractor,
Yeah.
and now he can't get on the tractor anymore.
Right.
It happens to all of us at some point. So yeah, my transition was the decision was my choice,
Yeah.
but I still had to navigate that transition. And
Yeah.
it came slower because
Yeah.
and actually it hit me harder. And I don't know if we'll get there, but just to kind of lead it hit me harder at some point later in my retirement because I felt like I accomplished a few things.
Yeah.
I left the game on my own terms.
Yeah.
I had the money and the resources financially
Yeah.
of what I needed to do, even though I
Yeah.
didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's like I made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but I still had to make the transition.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you said something interesting. 1987. In 1987, I tore my knee up in 86. And so during the strike of 87, I was recovering from my knee injury. And by the time we got back into playing, which was 88, the summer 88, going through training camp and all of that, that was the end of my career. That was the year my career ended. And so, like you said, there were a lot of different variables to how you get there, but and it's a lot of different variables on what you did when you make the transition. It's not just football. It's the guy that worked 20 years for a factory. It's the guy that worked 40 years on the railroad. It's the guy that was the CEO of a company. It's the guy who raised cattle and did stuff in the farm, and now he can't physically do. Everybody has that place to where they have to, what I call, face the fact of reinventing themselves. And I think that
Well, Byron, I don't think it's reinventing.
yeah,
And that's a word that we use. It's like, like people say, I need to find my purpose. I want to
yeah,
find my purpose.
yeah, yeah.
I think you find your purpose in the pages of that Bible.
You better know I was going there before you got me, before you stopped me. I was gonna say that.
Yeah, yeah. I need to find my purpose. And I'll tell you, open those pages.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll slap you in the face.
You'll see yourself.
But the reinventing part, that's a word. It's like retirement. When people say I'm going to retire,
Yeah,
like retire from what, right?
yeah,
When you're on a mission,
yeah,
Paul says, "I fought the good fight. I ran the good race." Like
yeah,
it's over. It's done.
yeah,
Jesus said it's finished.
yeah.
He didn't say I'm retiring.
Right,
Paul didn't say I'm retiring. He said
right.
it's finished. And
It's
we
finished.
use the word retirement to meet our system of where we put money into a retirement.
Yeah,
And then when we get to retirement age, I'm going to travel and we're going to
right,
see the world. No,
right.
you're not.
No,
Unless you retire and then some of these .com babies or some of these guys who've been given a nest egg from their parents.
yeah,
But for the most part, the reinventing yourself is, and you were saying something about the guy on the tractor and the guy who worked at just a regular warehouse guy.
yeah,
The issue for me is the mindset says that I'm on a mission for God,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I'm working at this factory because this is where God wants me to be. It's the same mindset as if you're in the military.
yeah,
And it says a soldier doesn't concern himself with civilian affairs.
yeah,
Like they get sent to a duty station.
yeah.
They don't choose it.
No,
It's like, man, I'm
no.
gonna be stationed in Hawaii. I'm gonna be stationed in Guam. I'll be
Right.
stationed in I'm going deployed in Afghanistan. You don't choose that.
Yeah,
The powers that be that has you. So for me, I think as quick as you and whoever is listening to this podcast of yours,
yeah.
I think as quick as you can grasp the fact that I'm on a mission for God,
Man,
and if He wants me to work at the local grocery store,
yeah,
then there's somebody in there that I'm supposed to be ministering to. So
right.
then if my duty station changes and now I'm working at Walmart and somewhere else,
Yeah.
or I move to okay, God, you want me to be here.
The mission doesn't change.
The mission doesn't change.
Yeah,
I mean, well, here's the thing: your mission is to win
yeah,
souls and make
right,
disciples.
right.
But the mission that the oh God, Byron had it. But anyway, you're on point. That's
The
it.
environment. Yeah, the
Yes.
environment may
Yeah.
change, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mission stays the
Yeah.
same. You know, as a
Mission.
script. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good.
There's a scripture that says, "Whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord and not unto man." Well, so
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, don't do it unto man, but as unto the Lord, man. And so,
Yes.
so from that perspective, your mindset is always doing whatever you do to please God.
Yes. Now here's the point of that. The men and women who serve in our armed services, they understand
Yeah.
I may be deployed.
Right.
They understand that I may be stationed at Fort Hood
Right.
this time,
Right.
and then I'm going to Fort Bliss in El Paso,
Right.
or I'm going to Fort Belvoir, I'm
Right.
going to some other fort. They know that. But
Yeah.
guess who doesn't understand that in its totality? The
Yeah.
children.
That's right. That's right.
That's why the children who are born in military families, they're kind of messed up because
Yeah.
they go, I never had a chance to make some friends. And by the time, and so what I'm doing is I'm going to protect myself
Right.
because I know we're going to be moving soon. So I'm not
Right.
going to make any friends.
Right.
No,
Right.
make friends.
That's right.
Reach out.
That's
But
right.
it's like, no, I'm going to spare myself the emotional stress and strain because I know I'm going to be moving.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a challenge.
but that's just the way my mind works.
Yeah, but that's okay though. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
There's so many dynamics to it, and
Yeah.
and I think that the key is we're both saying the same thing. The key is to be rooted and grounded in God, and the foundation of our personal relationship with Him. And see, for me, man, look, if I hadn't had a personal relationship and have ongoing personal relationship and with God, then man, LINT Brothers, I'd be calling LINT Brother all the time, man, because it's just so much stuff you encounter. And you said it, And I created a whole nother venue called the Man Cave, where I have guys that just come in, and I created an environment for guys to be able to just kind of breathe and open up a little bit. Our saying is, what happens in the cave, what's said in the cave stays in the cave, to create an environment for guys, because as you know, we don't trust very easily. We don't open up and we don't trust easily. And that takes a minute. It takes some time. But God just impressed upon me, man, how hurting our men are, man, and we are as men, putting on the facade that everything's okay, I'm doing good, everything's all right, and yet internally we're bleeding to death, and we have
Hmm.
nowhere to go and no one to talk to. And I believe that's
Hmm.
probably right up the alley for Lent. And so it just really hit my heart, man, about men. So I've had three sets. I got one tonight. I'll have on Wednesday nights. I opened my basement up, man. The Lord spoke to me and said, man, so I opened my basement up and just posted it on Facebook. And guys come in and we sit down and I share scripture with them and we talk some, and we'll have some chili or something like that, and then I've done it three times here at my house, and I've done it once at our church. We
Hmm.
had more men to show up at Man Cave at my church has ever shown up for any event in 20 years.
Wow.
The first one.
Wow.
So
Wow.
if they show up like that on the first one, we got to get ready, man, and prepare ourselves for an increase of guys coming in. But the whole point is really kind of what you have lent yourself to with Lent, and it's to give men an opportunity to kind of release and share some things in a comfortable environment. So tell us about Lent. Tell us about how that whole thing came about.
Lint, Lint Brother, and you said it when you talk about, um, every man at some point is going to experience those withdrawals, that transition. People call it, you got to figure out when you understand to reinvent yourself. But I
Yeah,
think what you're saying, like you said, understand you're on a mission from God, and He's just changed your duty station.
yeah,
And so, Lent came about, Byron, because after I left the Redskins, which are the Commanders now, but after I left those guys and signed with after Super Bowl, I played another year
yeah,
in Washington, and then I signed a 3-year deal with LA.
yeah.
I had the best year of my career in 1993. Had a
Wow.
ton of sacks.
Yeah,
Was on different magazine covers and in articles and on news stations and sports this and interviews and doing all this stuff that you do as your stock rise
yeah,
in terms of being out there on that field. And also, too, I just come off the Super Bowl where I was probably a play from winning MVP of the
yeah,
Super Bowl. Had a
yeah,
God bless me to have a great Super Bowl.
yeah,
And so all of that's happening. Great Super Bowl champion, signed a deal with LA, and you take the next step, and now you balling out, got all these sacks, all these plays, tackles, holding down yards. So you just get ready to keep bumping up. Next thing you know, you all pro and hopefully Pro Bowls and all that.
yeah, yeah,
But as that happened, as I'm going up in external accolades and recognition, internally I'm melting.
yeah,
I'm my brain is just
yeah,
because the more people know you, sometimes the more um, encapsulated you become.
yeah,
That's why real big time celebrities,
yeah.
man, those guys,
You don't
they
ever see
can't
them.
hang out like we
Yeah,
do,
no, no.
because somebody's always pulling on them and
Yeah,
all that stuff. So it was just a battle mentally. I'm going through some stuff. And
yeah.
so that next training camp in '94, uh, doing training camp, man, I came a few inches away from committing suicide.
Wow.
And we call it death by suicide.
Yeah,
And only God Himself spared my life. And I'm crying and
yeah,
I'm getting ready to run my truck into a
yeah,
pole
yeah,
coming away from training camp in Irvine, California.
yeah.
And God spared my life. And
Wow.
and 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 then He put me on a trajectory as He healed me, and I remember saying when He stopped me, I was just screaming sitting in my truck, I want to live. I want to live. I don't care if my wife leaves me. I
Yeah,
don't care if I have a dime in the bank. And then
yeah,
you're talking about millions of dollars. I
yeah,
don't care about that. I don't
yeah.
care if my wife leaves me with
You
our two
just want to
boys.
live.
I just want to live.
Yeah,
I just want life,
yeah,
life,
yeah,
life.
yeah,
And so God healed me. He healed my marriage. And then over the next several years, man, as I would go to a school or open up to go somewhere, every so often I'd open up and share just the inkling of that story.
Yeah.
And then over the years, man, I realized that I needed another man I could really talk to. And as I started to talk to guys more and more, like you said about going back to those guys, and you
Everybody.
you start finding out that
Everybody.
I'm not the only one, every
Mhm.
man. And
Yeah.
our statement of fact says that, Byron. If you go to our website, it's lintbrother.com.
Okay.
Lint, LINTBROTHER, lintbrother.com. And
Okay.
his statement of fact says every man needs another man that he can get down to the lint with in the pocket of his life. And it's like turning the pockets of your jeans or khakis or whatever pants, turning your pockets, not pulling the contents out. Yeah, you're gonna show your keys and your wallet and you're gonna talk about the basic stuff, but it's pulling your pocket inside out and looking at that lint that's deep down in the very bottom. It's dark, it's dirty, it's filthy, and nobody wants to see it. It's throwing in the trash.
And
So over the years, I began to share that, and I realized, man, there are more men. And David Rocker and I played together in LA. I met him in '93.
yeah.
He didn't know, and I asked him one time. I said, "Man, if I would have committed suicide while you guys were going to Green Bay," he said, "Fred, we would have been like most people do. Like for what? Like
Yeah.
he had money, he
Yeah.
had two beautiful kids, his
Yeah.
wife. Why? Because they didn't know what was going on in here. And so that was the evolution of Lent Brother. And then God just kind of over the years, I was leading men. I still lead men. I do one-on-one coaching with men. I'm speaking all over the country to
Yeah.
different organizations and churches and so forth.
Yeah.
And I just realized God just gave it to me as I'm kind of thinking about it. My wife and I were talking, and it just came, you know what? It's Lent. I'm telling God, man, you got to empty your pockets out. You got to empty,
Yeah.
man, you got to get down to the Lent.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute.
That's it.
Life not and I thought about it, Byron, it was more like life you never tell.
Right.
But then it was like, wait a minute. Not I don't want to project this on you. It's life I never tell. So
That's
every
right.
man says Lent, life I never tell.
The life I never
And
tell.
you can obviously, get more detail, but that's kind of and hopefully that wasn't too much, but
No,
that's kind
no.
of the origin of the whole Lent Brother process for me.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I mean, I just feel like that God is orchestrating the whole thing for you, and that there's a whole nother level to it, that God is intending on you being able to reach more men. I think right now in this season, God's heart is really, really bent toward men. I mean, I've not felt the pull of God on my life in ministry any stronger than I've felt in the last, really, literally the last month, man. And it knocked me to, I mean, the Spirit of God knocked me to the floor. I was bawling, thinking about and feeling what men are feeling now and what God is feeling about what men are feeling. And I got caught in between the two. I feel like I got caught in between the two, man. And I was like, I can't take this, man. Don't make me think about anything else. If I thought about any more of it, I would just bust out again. And
Yeah.
I knew that it was something that God wanted me to move toward with the man cave. So talk to me just a little bit. I've taken up a lot of your time. Talk to me a little bit about your speaking and what you do related to your speaking. I think you're in several different categories, aren't you?
Well, it's really the same. My personal mission statement is, and it's out there, is to positively impact the life of every person that I meet
Yeah.
that would allow me. And that's my personal mission statement. So if you meet me and have some kind of encounter, so if you're out there listening and we have a chance meeting somewhere, that's what I'm doing. So you'll know now, I've given myself away. I'm
Yeah.
intentionally it's my personal mission statement to positively impact the life of every person that I meet.
Wow.
And so with that said, Byron, my speaking, man, is built on that. I have an organization, a company, Fred Stokes Foods. We
Yeah.
do we do a signature brand of sausage.
Okay.
And we were in some Walmart stores and Publix and all those things, but it was just overwhelming. And now we've scaled back and we've got a few restaurants between Orlando, South Orlando, some parts of Georgia, not up in Atlanta yet,
Yeah.
but that small price. So I do that,
Yeah.
but it allows me and it affords me to interact with people,
Yeah.
which again, people is my thing. So I've talked about, and as God would allow me, and I'm interacting with people, it's the same agenda. He's just using a different vehicle, which is sausage.
Yeah.
The other is Lint Brother. So as I travel around, and we've written a curriculum, and you can see that on the website as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But we've written a curriculum. It's called Lent Brother Encounter, and there's a 7-session encounter that we have, and it's what is a lint brother?
Yeah.
Why do I need a lint brother?
Yeah.
Why do I need a lint brother?
Yeah.
Session 3 says the ultimate lint brother model, which is Jesus Christ.
Wow.
So we're patterning this whole model after Christ
See?
and what he did with the disciples and so forth.
Yeah.
And so with the speaking, I'm still getting out there and doing that. Now, there's a portion of what I do when I speak to corporate America
Yeah.
is I talk about how to manage change and minimize stress. And I do a PowerPoint presentation on that. But it's still, Byron, it's still the same in my mind.
Same
It's
mission.
still the same with me
Yeah.
positively impacting the life of every person that I meet
Yeah.
through different venues, whether it's at church, whether
Yeah.
I'm going to corporate, whether
Yeah.
I'm at a school, and so forth and so on.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna need that PowerPoint on minimizing stress. I'm gonna need you to send it to me. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there now. I'm gonna need you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go.
just
Yeah,
kick that out there.
yeah, just kick that out. You go ahead and send that to me whenever you feel
Yeah,
like you need to get it out. I'll need to look at that so I can do some home study.
that's right. That's right.
But yeah, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on, man. You've been a blessing to the shoulder pad, and we try to find a way to tap into every person's personal experience, and obviously there's a lot more to yours than we were able to talk about, but people can go on your website and also be able to tap into connecting with you in several ways. And I just believe that something was said in the course of what you said today that will lend itself toward what another person's next steps are. And that's really what I want to do. Just give somebody an
Mhm,
opportunity to think about, you know what, I heard what he said, and I think I
mhm.
need to I think I need to apply that, and let me try that because what I'm doing is not working. And I know it's been a success. We quoted some scriptures, so the word of God does not return void, but it's accomplished that which it was sent out to accomplish. so
Yes.
um so man, I again, I appreciate you. Thank you so very much for being on the shoulder pad, man. And we got to talk some more because I got to get my lint out my pockets, and it looked like cotton balls, if you don't mind.
Well, you know what, Byron. I think when you talking about to your audience and those of you who are out there listening, over the years that we've done this, and I'm actually leading a workshop now for about 40 or 45 men
Yeah.
that I'm leading. They're going through it right
Okay.
now,
Okay. Okay.
every
Okay.
week, and
Wow.
so and there's a couple of churches that are doing it with their men too.
Yeah.
We talked to some law enforcement, firefighters, not first responder. I mean, it's every
Man,
man.
they
And
need
so
it.
to your point, if you're listening to this, I think the concept that so that you don't feel like it's weird or it's odd, just think about this aspect. When you look at our website, our proven process, like the computer that I have has a processor.
Yeah.
Like, what is that processor speed and all of that
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah, you got memory and RAM and all of
Right.
that,
Right.
but it's that processor that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
And so for Lint Brother, our proven process is commitment over time equals a Lint Brother. It's
Yeah.
commitment over time equals a Lint Brother. So
Yeah.
some of the guys have asked the question, so after this 7 session curriculum, I have a Lint Brother? No.
Yeah.
It's commit. You played for what, 10 years, Byron, or so?
Seven
You
years.
got to 7 years, you
Yeah.
got to know those guys
Yeah.
over those 7 years. So by the
Yeah.
time you retired, it's like, man, we connected.
Right.
You
Right.
didn't walk in saying, "Hey, I'm Byron.
Right.
Hey guys, y'all throwing the ball. Give me the
Right.
ball. Let me do
Right.
this and
Right.
another."
It's
So,
process
so
based.
just understand that piece. So when you look at the website and when you think about your own life, it's commitment over time.
Yeah.
If you commit to reading your Bible, you're gonna know. If you commit to your marriage, if you commit to building a relationship with your children, if you
Yeah.
commit yourself to your craft,
Yeah.
it's the same concept.
Yeah.
I'm gonna commit my life to my brother.
Yeah.
We're gonna walk this thing out as
Yeah.
we get down to the lens slowly over time.
Yeah. And that's one man at a time, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes,
One guy at a
sir.
time.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
well, look, man. Kudos to you. I pray blessings over all of your ventures because you got a handful of them, and I pray over your family and your the next stages that God has for you. My long-term vision for Shoulder Pad and Man Cave is to have a men's conference, and so one
Wow.
of the things that I believe is that I'm going to be able to bring people in. It's not just me doing it. I'm going to bring people in with
Mhm.
expertise in several different areas that are all specifically suited to minister to men. And so just make sure you're ready when my phone rings. Just be prepared to come wherever it is I need for you to come for that first men's conference. But I had a brother, watch this. I had a brother from South Carolina. I posted the man cave for the night. I had a brother from South Carolina, man, asked me if would I be able to stream it so that he can sit in. South Carolina.
Wow.
I got a guy that's an hour away that drives every Wednesday to come to Man Cave.
Wow.
An
Wow.
hour away, man.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
to the first point, the guy who's streaming, we don't stream ours.
yeah,
There were
yeah,
some men when we first started asking me to stream it. The
yeah.
reason we don't, and I was going to say this too, Byron, when you
I already
first
know.
started, that you say guys were coming when you posted it on, and more men came to the church than you've had in years.
Yeah,
And what happens is we just want to come and see if you're real.
that's right.
We're going to
That's
come and
right.
see if it's authentic.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And so we don't stream it because we want to talk about issues
That,
that are to that room.
yeah,
And if somebody walks by while I'm sitting here and they hear you in our conversation, then they picked up on that. And so men may not talk because they don't know who's in the other. Yeah.
I said
But
the
I
same.
but I get that though. It's good that
Yeah.
he was like, wow, he's excited about the fact. Yeah.
Yeah, because what I'm talking about tonight is how to cast your cares. As a
Mm-hmm.
man, how to cast your
Mm-hmm.
cares. And we
Mm-hmm.
care about it. We be carrying stuff around, man. We don't have no business carrying, man. And so
Yeah.
that's a big issue. But I said the same thing to him. I said, look, we would love to stream, but the number one rule in the man cave is what's said in the cave stays in the cave.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So for that reason only, we want to create. It won't be safe if anything gets out. And
And
so
men we already gun shy anyway.
already gunshot, man. So they're gonna
Yes,
come
sir.
12 times before they actually open up and say something. you
Yes,
know.
sir.
So
Yes, sir.
so we got the
And what
pray
I
over
say
this
on the
environment.
12th time is not going to be too detrimental to me, but
Right.
it might take me a while just to even get that part out. That's
Just to get
good.
that part, man. So
Yes,
I
sir.
I
Yes,
agree
sir.
with you 1000%, man. So Fred Stokes, man, love you. Appreciate you so much. And thank you so much for coming on the shoulder pad. And remember this, everything is football and it's always game time right here on the shoulder pad. You be blessed.